Well, the question is when we use the suits that are for sale in the Keshe Foundation store, um, if we use them, for instance, to treat um, a problem with the coronavirus and use the cup 1, cup 2 Ganses. If we want to use it for another purpose that you talked about in the last Knowledge Seekers workshop, such as radiation or chemical problems or soul enhancement, we use different Ganses. Do we need a complete different suit, or can we use the same suit if we rinse it out or something like that?
Good evening. First of all, we don't treat. The Keshe Foundation system processes, the body processes things. And there's a big difference between treating. We are not doctors, we don't treat. We provide technology which allows the body to find its balance. And secondly, no, you cannot, because the gases get embedded in the fabric. It's the field effect which stays on. And for example, if you use it, especially cup number 2, in the suit, 100% you cannot use it for any other thing. Cup number 1 is tolerable because you have a zinc and CO2 mixture with an amino acid. But when it comes to use the mixture of cup 2 in the system, especially from the chest down, the parameter changes. So we advise not to. But because the field inside the shell already stays inside the shell, you cannot change it. This is one of the beauties or advantages with plasma technology.
So if one was in possession of a suit, and it was used, say, for the problem we're experiencing today, could that be used on another person for the same problem to process them?
We advise not to, because in the process, what other fields are in your body that might not match them? These suits, especially suits, are set up this way. We advise not to. From the beginning, we advise not to. It's per person. You can keep on using the same suit for corona for yourself, but you cannot use it for something else, especially if you have added cup number 2 in it.
And I know that's the same with the Hubble bubble. It's only for an individual, not to be shared.
No. Because we transmit, this is what most of the knowledge seekers have to realize, that you're not in a matter state if you don't see the salt on the table, on your plate. There's no salt in it. You can put the salt and cook your food with the gas water, and you'll find out the salt will be taken from the table into your food. Orange and a cup. Many, many things we'll teach in the coming time, the same way. But at the moment, we transfer the knowledge in a different way as we build up to what we call full understanding of the technology.
Thank you. I know.
Thank you very much.
Ed, are you okay with the answers?
Yes, that was perfectly clear. And it's kind of what I thought to begin with. So it was a good confirmation. Thank you.
Yeah, because you got to remember, for example, in serious cases now, especially, for example, in Iran, the Middle Eastern flu has not perforated into Europe and into Africa and to America. But once the Middle Eastern flu, which is operating through the stomach, comes up, where people vomit extensively to literally into the green stuff of the stomach, and then the next step, according to doctors, is death. within 3 to 5 minutes, we have seen people recovering. I've been online when the doctors, Dr. Barapur and knowledge seekers, vomiting is the last gastric acid, which is green. And we stayed online and we monitored. I advised Dr. Barapur what mixture needs to be done. Within 3 minutes, 5 minutes, there was nothing, all finished. And if you do use this material in conjunction with other things, you could have other effects. So we advise strongly to do this. There is something very interesting for knowledge seekers, which has come to our attention in past 24 hours, which is a major breakthrough for the Keshe Foundation worldwide. And it's another, as I said, propels us into a new dimension in very, very different ways. As I said, when you're happy and life is beautiful, everything changes. On Wednesday, which is the anniversary of Iranian Revolution, I usually get invited by the ambassadors to these events as a guest of the nation. For example, when I used to be in Brussels, I used to get invited to the house of the ambassador. And last 2 years ago in Beijing, I was invited by ambassadors to meet the heads of the, what we call, embassies, and as a senior Iranian nuclear physicist. For the first time since 2008, on the anniversary of the revolution in Iran, on the most prestigious, most important news, internet news line of the Sepah of Iran, under the first banner, directly under the first banner of the Ayatollah Khamenei and Khomeini, a picture of Ayatollah Khamenei inaugurating the Iranian nuclear physicist who was bombed a few weeks ago. There is put an article which brings the attention of Iranians to the revolutionary technology in plasma, which has been brought to Iran in 2008. And for the first time, Iranian government confirmed the transfer of the technology in weapon and defense of Iran in my name. And this will change a lot of things from now on. There is a substantial article, and it's the first time Sepah confirms that they have received the technology in use of the defense of Iranian borders. And the news has just got out on Thursday, Friday, and we have to wait and see what would be the response of international in this news. As up to the day of what we call last Thursday, Iranian officials never directly confirmed. And this is a significant move by the Iranian government, by Sepah, confirming the transfer of technology. And it's a very substantial input, and it's put right underneath of the heads of the nation and directly with the president of the nation, and making an announcement that the plasma technology, which most of the nations are looking for 60 years, is in the hand of Iran, and Iran has developed the technologies with it for defense of the borders of Iran. And in so many ways, for the first time, what we said for 12 years, confirmed by the Office of Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran, the Iranian armed forces and Sepah, that Iran has been protected by the technology of the Keshe Foundation. And in a way, on a Wednesday, in addressing the Iranian teaching, I requested that for the 21st of March opening, one of the heads of the state in Iran, that was done simultaneously the night when we announced this, that we requested head of the Sepah or Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran to address the Keshe Foundation opening of the television in calling for peace. And we have to wait and see, but the response literally has been immediate. And this brings Keshe Foundation directly in line with one of the most advanced technologies confirmed for the first time by a nation and in the defense of the borders of Iran. And it's been published by internal news broadcast of the Sepah, one of the most major news outlets of the Sepah internal. We have a position of it. And it just brings to light that we've been correct for all the time. And this, we have to see how the Americans and the Chinese will respond. Copies has been sent to the American administration and the Chinese administration. They're aware of it. And we have to see what is the next step. The television, now confirmation by the Iranian heads of military that they are in a position of technology which the world has been looking for 60 years. And it's a hidden technology that Iran has received. And in the text, they confirm that it's been brought in by Iranian nuclear physicist Mehran Keshe, who's a founder of lives in Europe and a founder of his foundation. And now, more or less, everything's on the table. And it's one of the best things for us that head of the armies of the nation confirm that they use this technology to protect the borders and a step for peace. And it's very interesting how and where the next step for us will be now with the television, now with more platforms that you will see coming up, is coming that brings the Keshe Foundation into being internationally. And we try to get a permission from the headquarters that we can publish this website, that we can publish it publicly, that the Iran Sepah major internal, what we call internet news of Iran, has confirmed the transfer of technology being in the hand of the Sepah. Then it pushes us to the next step of peace. And in how, by knowing that we have such a technology in our possession, that allows us to take that step of peace further. And we have to see. And this is what I said. Knowing Iran has such a technology brings us for nations to decide. And we'll see what happens and what the next step will be. I think it will be an exciting time in coming weeks and months. We have to see and wait to see whatever needs to be done.
So this could be devastating for conventional popsicle sales. Everybody's going to want what Iran has, a creamsicle that was gifted to them, let's say. But the other governments, they can't buy this technology, can they? They have to be gifted the knowledge or the technology. I mean, you can buy, obviously, systems, but the overall knowledge must be gifted from Iran to the other countries.
Don't forget, Iranian officials who have developed this technology for 12 years. And when it was used last January in Iraq, brought the end of the war. We never heard from Trump another thing he's going to do anything with Iran. And if you remember, it was very much, when we sit outside, look at it, is that what do you call, just 1 second, please. We've seen this with Trump. We saw this one now with, we've seen this one with Obama. And now it opens up another dimension into the work of the Keshe Foundation. That now the next step for us is the confirmation of the use of the technology for Corona. And the knowledge seekers in Iran who have seen the what do you call it, the text and what we call the internet connection to the Sepah's headquarters better, because it's on their website and it's straight right on the top underneath of the two leaders of the nation. It puts us back on the position of it's been so important that on the time of the revolution, what's called celebration of the revolution of Iran, which is the most important holidays in Iran, with under the name and the picture of the Ayatollah Khamenei. This has been released. We are doing a lot of work with Iran, trying to push the Iranian government towards a peace process internationally to change the position. And we'll see, this gives us a very large leverage to the Chinese government that they've been playing the games of tactical delay to hold, but it's still being good relationship with the foundation. CPC has received a copy of this in their hand, and National Defense of China, the headquarters of National Defense, has received a copy, which changes the position. Iran never confirmed this. Iran always avoid confirming, and this, in a very soft way, is the beginning of the change. And in such a, especially on the Day of Revolution celebration, to publish this in the major article, call it major article, and what we call presentation of the technology, it brings us a lot of changes. In so many ways, the translation of it read immediate urgent news for the noble and heroic nation of Iran, which will never be outdated. Read carefully and be happy. Ultra advanced plasma and water warfare physics. This is also God's grace. Plasma science is one of the most secret weapons that the children of Islamic Iran have achieved in the armed forces and are hard to believe for many. That some people may be looking at, maybe mocking it, but has happened, and thanks God thousands of times that we are the first country in the world to achieve this knowledge. A few major countries have been looking for the science for more than 60 years, but they have not succeeded. This science was invited to Iran was brought to Iran by Mr. Keshe, who is an Iranian living in Europe in 2008. And Iranian scientists have successfully achieved this science. Mr. Keshe has a foundation called the Keshe Foundation. It is great scientist, and in plasma science is trying to help the whole world. And his papers and books have been published in several languages around the world. But many people, and then it goes on. Maybe the name of the ship or UFO has been eaten or have been heard or listened to. So they confirm Iran has a spaceship program in this text. And this is a part of the text of very, very long text by the Iranian government confirming the correctness of the technology. And the heading is immediately under the, what I try to cut it that maybe we can do, you can see it. It is under the heading of the most important, what we call Sepah's newspaper, and brings us back into a very important, they never publish pictures and articles under the name and the picture of the Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran. It is unheard of. And they have gone to this extent. And you can see the picture. And it's called Instant Breaking News with News.
You've also gifted China last January some knowledge, and they've sort of used it, but kept it under wraps. Do you think this will help China to open up and perhaps publicly acknowledge yourself and the technology?
In so many ways, we have to wait. It's the Chinese New Year. It has been passed on to CPC this morning. And we have to see the response of the American administration. As I explained in the teaching, we have started negotiating with the request of the Bidens through the heads of CIA connections which we have, and we have to see what the response is. We expect some response in the next few days. Maybe we'll go back on the negotiating table, but it'll be on the terms of peace, our terms of disarmament. And maybe this is a point you got to realize. The gentleman you see is the gentleman who they blew up, senior Iranian nuclear physicist, who was working on the projects of the Keshe Foundation in Iran through plasma technology. And this is in a way a response by the Iran. You kill the intermediary, but the man who's got the knowledge still lives and lives amongst you in Europe. The significance of it is that now is a break news on the day of the revolution anniversary, and at the same time, on that night in the Persian teaching, I requested the head of the Sepah and Ayatollah Khamenei, as I said, to join Keshe Foundation opening with no Islamic rhetoric, but the direct peace talks that we extend the peace beyond the Iranian border across the planet. And we have to see, and the response immediately has come from the office of Khamenei in this way on one of the most important internal communications and news of the leadership of Iran. Both, as you see, the heads of the Sepah in the background and Ayatollah Khamenei in front. This is, if you understand political language, it means we stand, both Sepah and the Iranian leadership stand behind Keshe Foundation. Because they have accepted it as to be an Iranian and being a foundation. And this is significant for us. We have to see what the response will be in the next few weeks on the international arena now that they have released the name and the technology which Iran has achieved. As I said, when you find peace and happiness, everything opens up. And I have found peace and happiness in every level of life in the past few weeks. And it's a pleasure to be in this position.
And it's a pleasure for humanity to be in this position as well.
We hope we see what we can achieve, but as I said, we are serving to humanity and peace and see now with this very well. Because for 12 years, we tried to get the Iranian leadership to confirm the transfer of knowledge to Iran, both in defense and both in the space. And in this article, they literally cover everything in the extent, in a large extent. And it says instant breaking news, good news. And it says important, urgent news. So it is important for the nations of the world to understand Iran has achieved the spaceship travel, the spaceship technology, and the spaceship knowledge which the Americans could not dream could achieve it, or the Chinese.
You did tell us that they are flying craft over our country here in the United States, but that we did not have the technology to detect them.
Now we have the confirmation from the head of the nation. Anyway, this is a good news to share, and we'll see what comes with it and what we can achieve with it in the negotiations coming up with major governments around the world in next step in technology. Any other question?
Mr. Keshe, this is Ed speaking. So just to be clear, when your technology was used by Iran and other nations like Russia previously in a military sense, was it not known, like by the United States, that it was Keshe technology? They just thought it was advanced technology of Russia or Iran?
So the Keshe technology is known by them. There's a problem in international arena, and this problem is not just with us, is with all the scientists around the world. This is an inherited problem which the world governments have to address one way or another, that scientists' knowledge has to belong to all of us. This is what we have a problem with. And our technology, even though I teach it freely, is the assets of Iranian nation. And the American governments and European governments have a huge problem with this. They want to access it, they want to talk, but they need a permission of the Iranian government to talk with me, even though I haven't lived in Iran for 46 years and the rest of it. This is the problem, because on that level, you enter spying and selling technology and the rest of it. And this is where most of the problem with us sits. Most of the, what do you call it? Most of the headache with the Keshe Foundation and the governments is, can we talk to him? Would his nation allow? Would he be considered as a spy? And the rest of it. And we all know what happened to us with England in 2004, 2005, with Lockheed Martin. And this is part of the biggest problem. You got to understand the problem is not at one level or two. The problem is when you work the way we do, you have to realize the problem escalates in a very different way and in a different manner that we are used to. How do we address these things? How do we address nation and people who are responsible for a nation that what we call is in process? Many of you, I try to, this paper, I know one of you have sent it to me. it goes back to years ago when they knew the technology is Iranian technology. If you read this paper, there's a funny bit in this paper, and the funny part of it is that a lot of you don't take notice of it. A lot of people don't understand it when they read it, but it has a very funny text. And the funny text is, I have to adjust it because it releases a name which, if it's in other hands, people know it. Is that the NASA invites you to NASA, but they ask you to pay for your travel, which means the American government does not want to be shown that we brought you in. And this is when you look at it, it says, but when you go there, they give you your expenses on a bill. They give you an envelope with all your expenses in it. And this is the most funny part of it, that we get to these positions. And we haven't hidden anything from any nation in teaching the technology. Is on an open basis and is shared freely. We as knowledge seekers, because we are always in it, we don't take much notice of it. And this, we are not a single national structure. We are a multinational facet, but governments look at us as a technology in a very different way than what we look at ourselves. If you look at it, this is, most probably seen this, is dated September 22nd, 27, 2012. And it's very easily, it says, if you read the paragraph, it says, we would be honored to have you come and present your proposition thereof. And this is from NASA headquarters, propulsion lab. And you go to the next letter. The head of a nation addresses as a technology to be correct. And we go to the next nation. These are the high military diplomats, what you call scientists of the Chinese government. Half bodyguards and half most senior officers in Chinese space and others. This is another one. Chinese Space University in Beijing never allows foreigners in. And I'm afraid I've received the clearance from the highest level by the nation. And some of these people on this are the highest space scientists in China. We have the freedom. This is, again, water test for Italy. Again, another one. Yes, and many, many things like this. We are allowed, there is no restriction for the Keshe Foundation. It's just that allowing the process of the technology to be shared, but the governments work with us directly. And now with this confirmation from Iran, will change a lot of things. Is this a political pressure on America that now you have the technology? And is this a pressure to the Chinese? We have the knowledge, we have the technology, and it belongs to us. Belongs. It is published, the signatory to the paper published by Iran is truly the noble nation of Iran, in the name of the officer, highest ranking officer Iran, cultural and social deputy of the national defense of Iran, national interest is signed to the paper. It's the head of the Iran national defense have signed that they possess such a technology.
Seems like the governments have to learn how to share. They seem to want to own or have you on their side, as well as owning the technology. Otherwise, they don't want to play the game, but you're not going in that direction. As I remember you telling the story, or I was reading the story about you at the airport back then, where all these intelligence agencies are trying to get you to sign up with them, or governments to sign up with them for their benefit, and then just to control the technology and leak it out. But as you said, this technology belongs to all of us.
I would like to read you part of the text, which is very interesting when we read it. It confirms something which the whole was denied by the Iranian officials up to now. And part of the text in this, the body of the text of this article is very, very interesting for one reason. And I'll read it to you. And this is what I said for years. It says, it's like people floating on a board and they cannot do anything. For more information, go to YouTube and listen to Mr. Rahimi and Omid Dawan's interview. The RQ-170 drone corps will also land. The United States with the science was landed with the science of the plasma physics. For the first time, Iran confirms that the drone was captured, as I said, by the Keshe Foundation technology. It's the first time in 12 years. Iran officially confirms that the drone was captured with this plasma technology, American drone.
So, Mr. Keshe, in a way, Iran now publishing this in this Sapah paper or article publicly linking themselves to you is an indication now that they are willing to share internationally, respecting your autonomy, but sharing the technology. Is that correct?
In a way, yes. In a way, it opens the hand of a new science and technology. Directly for the first time since 2012, after 9 years, directly they announced that the drone was captured with this plasma technology. This is what we said for past years. There are different texts to this paper, and in so many ways, the confirmation of the Iranian government that the capture of the drone was the Keshe Foundation plasma technology is a shock on the back of many nations. Don't forget now what we have developed. I'll read you another line to this. It says, General Salimi and Sardar Hejazadeh pointed out several times indirectly, to advanced facilities, and repeatedly General Hejazadeh announced to the negotiation team, you negotiate firmly and do not retreat from the country's position. I promise the people of America can do nothing. Surely Iran Republic Islamic Republic is not attached to missiles because the enemies have more advanced missiles than Iran. The leadership also recently announced that the United States will definitely fail if it wants to do the slightest stupidity. So, and he reads, friends, the Iranian Islamic Republic has achieved the greatest achievement of plasma physics, and in the near future, you will hear good news from it. Maybe some people will not understand or make this great achievement look worthless and even hard to believe. But thanks God, Islamic Iran was able to take the knowledge into its possession. Good time and a happy time on 22nd of the 11th month of the 2020 and 22nd of February, the anniversary of the glorious victory of the revolution. For the first time, Iran directly confirms everything we said for years in a public announcement into the nation's highest ranking military. And it confirms everything what we said for years. But the most interesting part of this text shows this was done after the Iranian talk I did to the Iranian nation on Wednesday, asking for peace. It's the immediate response. It says the nation of Iran and all the lovers of Islamic Republic of Iran, with a Wednesday wish, which was my wish on Wednesday, with prosperity and health, peace, hope, and preference. We, the patriotic and noble nation with the ancient history and an authority that must be recorded in the Guinness Book. In so many ways, we have achieved what we set out. And with Iran announcing that even the drone was captured by this, it's the first time we have received confirmation from the authorities. And being mentioned that the heads of the Sepah in military defense and the officers who was blown up were working on this technology, and announced Iran has a position of such. But the evolution in science compared to what Iran has and what we have achieved in our latest advanced technology makes that even irrelevant. The new breakthrough in space technology in the Keshe Foundation is massive. And it's a great pleasure. And it brings a lot of comfort when a nation confirms the correctness. And whatever we said, that the drone was captured, the same with the achievement in Iraq last year was through the Keshe Foundation technology. Now the heads of the nation confirm.
Excuse me, Mr. Keshe. Isn't this really just a lot of noise with regard to how someone was able to weaponize an energy packet like the virus, a non-matter state type of entity to, be a new weapon as opposed to drones and missiles and bombs? Isn't that the real signal that we should be concentrating on?
What do you mean?
Well, if we go back and look at how you've talked about a virus as an energy pack, it's not matter state per se, and how it was developed and how it's been released to become a weapon on this planet of attacking both Iran, China, the United States, and all countries now around the world, and how the solution that was provided was not matter state per se either, and how even though the governments want to still talk about matter state bombs and missiles and drones and things like that, but yet the real challenges are in the intermediate or the next level of the viruses and things like that.
The challenges are not the viruses. The challenges is a change of the mind of our leaders. They can release as much different packets of energy under any name or whatever. Now there is a solution for it. You got to realize that the Keshe Foundation past 7 days has been given, physically given, one of the largest research centers for operation. As I said, we don't announce a lot of things, but we have received officially from one of the leading nations, not only land, but the buildings and everything to start research and development. Physically, our people have been on site. And the biggest fear of the nations is not viruses, because they know they have the solution. The biggest fear of the nations at the moment is how our leaders are going to tell the truth to their citizens. This will be released to CNN and the rest, and they can check. This will be released internationally within the next 7 days. And this is a major breakthrough for the Keshe Foundation in a way that we always said, and now it proves that what we said is correct. If this is correct, then the what we call Corona trial, Cup 1, Cup 2 is correct too. 2021 is a time of the change. And then, as I said, to all the knowledge seekers with the television station, go for the peace for April 21, you'll get it. Put your all concentration, get these things out, and continuously push for it. We will get it. And this is another strength in our, what do you call it, in our work. The problem is not if, now is when we can achieve world peace. In the next 48 hours, in the next 72 hours, the Keshe Foundation is, and we'll be talking to some of the most important people in the work of the peace and world negotiation in that matter. Because now what they call it, the Corona restriction has been moved in Austria. We can freely move and complete negotiations with different governments.
Mr. Keshe, where do organizations such as the Rothschild Group enter into this puzzles of interacting governments and so forth and so on?
We have to wait and see. We have to wait.
So I guess this question popped into my mind when you talked about the biggest problem for the governments is that how are they going to reveal this to the people of their nation? And I just wondered if there was any pressures on governments higher than governmental levels, such as these groups like the Rothschild groups and stuff like that, that has to be sorted out as well. But I mean, you say we have to wait and see. So
I think the biggest problem will come on top of NASA. With this being released, and if it gets into the mainstream media, the heads of NASA will be replaced without a doubt, because they are the ones who blocked a lot of things. They were told to block it, and now it's put NASA behind in the space technology. When I gave a lecture in Beijing, a space university, a couple of years ago, and the room was full with the top 15 space scientists China had at its disposal to understand where and how. And it's strange enough, about a couple of weeks later, they invited us to a meeting. And on the morning of the meeting, suddenly national defense officers, they said, instruction has come from the top that you do not meet with them. And the heads of the national security will meet with the space people and will come back what is the position for the next meeting. When they came back in the afternoon, they said, all the machines are there, but not working. And they ask you if you just can give them the combination of the fuel. I said, isn't that embarrassment that they have the machine, but not the fuel? This is the depth of the problem for the nations. This is the depth of the knowledge which they need to get into. But it's interesting, we just watch how the American administration in the next few weeks responds. We are under a lot of pressure in Europe with the national security of the European government. It's not all easy, with different tricks and different, they try to get into the knowledge, but they cannot get into the knowledge. And if we explain to you the extent of deviousness the European nations are going into to get to what I do, is amazing. As you know, I don't keep secrets, but I'll explain to you what happened to us in the past 2 weeks in Austria. You cannot even imagine.
Mr. Keshe, it's just honestly for me, it's so hard to understand why people will go to that extent of deviousness to get something from you rather than just interact openly with you when you would share it with them. I mean, they want, I mean, I understand what you're saying. They want to get it and steal it and say that they have it for themselves rather than acknowledge that it came from you and interact freely and openly with you and the rest of the world, right?
I don't know. Ask to the pride of ignorance, I call it. They're too proud and too ignorant. We have opened up, and the technology will go very rapid from now on, especially with the TV channel, and the work is just getting done. By the way, all of you, if you're from different languages, please send all the members with a full detail to info@keshe.foundation. We want every detail that they first they have to pass the security check. Anybody you have chosen to be a member of your group, send them to the application form section, and then put an application form for member of the what do you call it, TV program, what do you call KFTV channel, and from which country you've been or they have been appointed. We need to vet everyone. Those who we already know vetted will be done. But we need you now from today till tomorrow, the day after. All the ones who have you appointed to be the members of the, what we call programs of the Keshe Foundation TV, we need them to go in and fill in the application form and put on it a member of a television organization, that we can get them vetted very quickly and call everybody into a meeting, hopefully by Wednesday. They have to fill in the form and the application form.
Did you say, Mr. Keshe, you were going to bring in people that know how to run television stations, although they have no knowledge of the Keshe plasma technology?
We are looking at it, yes, it's an option.
Okay, as an option.
This is an option. We don't have people. We have a lot of people making claims in different languages, but the team we're looking at, where we're talking to, they are from televisions like Al Jazeera, from BBC. There are people with a track record in the news media. We have a lot of people. I've been to many chats who say, "Oh, I've been in the television. I know, and I know the programming." We need people who know how to run a television station, A to Z, and how it can be processed. And we have received we have spoken to people who could be of this caliber.
And where is this application located again?
Where you go and submit your student application form.
Okay.
Just fill in the form, but put on it TV channel.
So if you're a current knowledge seeker, we need to do that again.
Yes, for the television, yeah.
Okay.
And then you'll be given a common Zoom number that you can attend the meetings. You'll be informed. All the nationalities, the Iranian, the Chinese, all have been asked to put this up. It's not, some groups have already chosen people to represent, but now we're waiting for the other ones. Some people have a meeting today, some people had a meeting yesterday. And we have to work on an open mind.
It seems like in this American meeting, we have more international people here than actually from the United States.
It looks like you become really cosmopolitan.
And I thank everyone for being here. But this will change and this will grow as well. Will Fox News be getting this release from the Iranian government?
Fox News shooting themselves in the foot with it, yes. You think they're going to admit they made a mistake?
Yes, it's very hard to explain to the population why this was. Yes, I can see it's very difficult.
The biggest problem sits how the leaders of nations who decided to do this, how they respond. Who's gonna say, as they say in English, say where the buck stops.
Who's going to be the fall guy?
Yeah, there are not many people like Nixon. We all remember he said there'll be no whitewash in the White House, and the buck stops here. We'll see how they wash it and how wide they try to wash it. There is something in the talk in the background that a couple of European leaders, heads of states, will be brought to justice. We have reopened the path for the knowledge seekers from Belgium to return back into the rank of the Keshe Foundation, keep them away from education side, but you will see knowledge seekers from Belgium as part of the Keshe Foundation TV. We have reopened the channels into Belgium, the limited way, but at the same time to be very cautious, as it has to be in every language. The Dutch-speaking representations already been reached to us. So we'll see the Belgians back on the table, and we carry on with the process.
Like you said, it's not going to be easy, but it looks like the puzzle pieces are just sliding right into place and fitting perfectly.
I think on this Thursday, we will show one of the most secret development and one of the most advanced development of the Keshe Foundation, which will go up for sale. And many of you know. And then we'll see the extent that we will release next step, the price system. And then most probably we come to an arrangement agreement with the Iranian governments, if we can, to show the flying saucer of Iran. This is a very big step. I have to convince the Iranian leadership it's the right time to Iran show its power and technology. But these are all a lot of negotiation and building confidence on both sides. But the articles of this week opens the door for us to request, as it says, Wednesday requests. On Wednesday we requested and they immediately responded. You got to remember, when I spoke to the Iranian Keshe Foundation, was about 10:30 at night. So you understand the leadership sits on every teaching, and the response was swift. I'm sure we will see what we call the peace talks out of Iran very soon, headed by the Keshe Foundation, and we'll go that way.
Jefferson has put in the chat, great leaders will humbly say that they were wrong and bring the plasma technology to their people freely. But yet there are serious ramifications for them to do this. As you said, when the people find out how long they've been denied this technology and how much suffering has been experienced because of that, It's a very difficult position to come to.
Well, that's why I wondered if the United States government has recognized the Iranian paper that was produced, or has the Iranian government actually put their stamp of approval on the 120-page clinical trials from Iran, or has the Austrian government accepted that at this point?
The problem with us is not accepting it. The problem sits how the government will respond. The whole structure of technology will take a different shape, I presume, and we'll see. Well, we gotta wait and see, because it's the first time Iran has confirmed everything in one text. Confirmation of having the technology, confirmation of the American drone being captured by the plasma technology, and it's come from the leadership of Iran, the Office of Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran, and the Sepah together on their main news internal channel. This is the breakthrough in this communication. What we said for years and everybody stood by in so many ways. When we said that drone was captured by the plasma technology, many people understood. He says very simply, the Article 170 drone corps will also land the United States with the science that was landed with the science of plasma physics. It's the first time Iran has directly confirmed that they were captured with the plasma technology of the Keshe Foundation. It's in black and white by the leadership of Iran, and the picture of the head of the nation.
But Mr. Keshe, aren't these just chess moves? I mean, Operation Martyr, Soleimani proved that the Iranian weapons were superior, return to sender to the Saudis. I mean, these are just propaganda games where
No. There is no propaganda. You're so wrong.
Well, not as far as it's being utilized.
No.
I just wanted to say that the thing to the people of the planet is the virus, not these toys that they play with.
The virus is nothing compared to what you have to have the piece to go for the virus. The virus, we have a solution. You have to realize something very, very direct. President Trump appearing with the leaders of his military forces on his either side. I was sitting in the airport when the news, everybody was expecting what Trump is going to do with the retaliation on Iran last January. And all the flights into Middle East were canceled on a hold and delay because they didn't know if Trump is going to start a war. You got to realize when the Iranian, you hear about the base, American base. This base was one of the most heavily defended military bases of United States and allied forces of European allies. Carried hundreds of military officers. It was flattened to the ground. Even 11 meters in depth of silos were affected. No technology can reach depth of 11 meters below without physical interaction. American forces stood, their drones and everything was watching where their base was totally annihilated. No officer walked out alive. This is the extent of the damage. If it was something simple, Americans would not stop all the rhetoric and whatever gearing up to. It's the heaviest loss to the American and Allied forces since Second World War. This is now we can reveal. This, America does not walk away from all that heavy rhetoric till that night when there was no base to go to. They watched their offices, they watched their bases flattened. They could not even get a telephone call in. Iran didn't show anything, just creating plasmatic wind. There was no need for bombing. Even tens of meters below the ground, the field's matter state has no match for it. When you launch a nuclear warhead, when it gets in the turbulence of the plasma, where do you think it might land? The American officials are on the line, they can listen and they can tell you. They did not even know what hit them. They were not bombed, they were not, they can't even show you how badly the base is destroyed. Just a plasmatic wind. The technology is beyond understanding and imagination. Just go a week before the incident, how the Americans were bold, how they rocketed a senior officer and they thought they can do, what is it, what happened, how come that day everything died? They realize there is nowhere safe for them and we don't need to cross our border.
Yes, Mr. Keshe, I understood that, but I guess my point was to say that the peaceful people of this planet welcomed the settling of the obsolescence of that, the once regarded military that thought that they had the ultimate, and their sales and everything faltered and failed ever since then. My point was that in a way, it seems like they moved on to another weaponized thing, like the virus, in a way.
With the technology we have, is no weapon. There is no danger. The cleaning of Wuhan city, the cleaning of the city in south of Tehran at the early times was there. You got to realize, how can I put it? Let me express it in a different way. Iran is different in control and publication. Iran is not like every other nation. You can publish what book you like. You need permission from the government offices even to publish a poetry. These 4 books of Keshe Foundation, book 1, book 2, book 3, and the report on corona in a blue cover has been passed by Ministry of Health of Iran, that as a scientific paper in Health with Corona can be published, and now it's published with ratification from central government. And in it, we state clearly there is no problem with any kind of viruses. Now the implication of it comes, the applications of it comes. The what we call the vertical enhancement unit, which will be launched this week, hopefully. We've seen the last stages of testing as assembly in the past few days, will bring a huge changes of many of us, for many of us. The reason this vertical enhancement unit is launched is not primarily for viruses. It's primarily for transportation and transmutation of what we call objects or beings or existence or life. The next version of the vertical enhancement machine is being developed for giving birth to children. The new cycle of children to be born, where we transfer the soul of the child out of the womb of the mother, that she does not go through the pain of the birth, and the assembly of the physicality completed in the womb of the mother outside. You call it cesarean. Now the ultimate aim is this, that from the first cycle of birth, the human race does not feel the pain. There is a reason. When I said in the teaching that we are using it for transmutation and transportation, where we can release the child from the womb of the mother in the open atmosphere of the enhancement unit, like a delivery room.
Would this be like a marsupial?
Pardon?
Would this be like a kangaroo, a marsupial?
No. The child is born, it grows within the womb of the mother, and we transfer the soul of the child and the physicality to follow. This is how most of the birth in the universe takes place. This is the knowledge unknown to man. I told you I will open the science of the universe, but for man to even understand it is beyond imagination of him. One of the biggest problems for humanity is the process of the birth, where you have to go through the birth tunnel, and we see so much problem. We are developing this technology. Is not a dream. It's on the floor within the research center. And this is one of the ultimate goals. Why do you have to cut a body to save a body? Or why do you have a mother to die in the process of giving birth? Why should many children take all sorts of brain damages and everything else through the path of process when we understand the new concept of creation? When I said in the teaching, we are looking for transportation of the soul, not physicality, now some of you might understand. This is the new knowledge, the knowledge of creation. the origin of the magnetic field. You got to realize now what I said, we captured the Americans with the plasma technology for 12 years and everybody has stayed silent. Now you have a confirmation. What we do, we deliver. We have to see, and we have to look forward to the evolution and next step.
Well, that I was just trying to emphasize how some of this information sits with the Chinese government, and how I thought because of the peaceful negotiations that were going on between the Keshe Foundation and the Chinese, that like with the blue ear virus clinical trial that was released with a lot of documentation, that we'd eventually get some from the Chinese and some of this technology that's already been proven and through their trials.
You all got to realize Chinese are as bad as the Americans and the Russians and the rest. Something very interesting happened to you Canadians in the past few weeks. Have you ever realized? You have the daughter of Huawei in custody in your nation. And some of the most secretive patents has been sold by BlackBerry for hundreds of millions of dollars to Huawei in past few days, past couple of 2 or 3 weeks. What does that tell you? BlackBerry holds a few thousand edge of technology patent in there. They're gone, they're finished, they didn't evolve, but they have a lot of patents. Very most important top patents, a couple of dozens of them, have been sold for huge sums to people who are holding hostage and supposed to be selling technology or whatever. Just type on the internet. Tell you, BlackBerry has sold patents to Huawei for huge sums. Where was the connection of the Americans? What was it? What are they trying to do when the Canadians, while she's there, are benefiting by it in trillions? This is what it is and how it is nowadays. The reality is governments play games. And you got to be aware of when the government's time runs out. And how these times run out. There it is. BlackBerry sells 90 patents to Huawei, covering key smartphone technology advances. 12th of January 2021. Billions. Are we supposed not to deal with Huawei and the Chinese? Isn't there a sanction? Strange enough, the owners of the BlackBerry knew of my arrest when I was in Canada. They refused, they were told not to intervene. They were expecting on my arrival to be able to do a lot of work with the new technology with them. As many of you know, Huawei family, BlackBerry family, the owners are Greeks and are patients of my sister. And I said, when they refused to intervene because of the pressures by the Canadian government, I said, BlackBerry will finish. They wished the worst, they received my wish. And we seen very short while after that time, BlackBerry disappeared. They were in the airport. They could do everything. We'll see what situation arises in the next few weeks from outcome of the Iranian publication. And we'll see how it will bear fruit and which way we will take dimension and direction.
Good evening, Mr. Keshe. Jalal here.
Yes, Jalal. Good evening.
In the last workshops, you have been called the old knowledge seekers to join back the foundation. Did you have any response from them?
We don't need them to contact us. They're there to support their own way. You got to realize a lot of old knowledge seekers go and come back, but they're always listening in the background. They're there. We don't keep account. The expansion of the technology will bring its own time and people.
So the door is still open for them. Anyway.
The door, we never close the door. They close it themselves. Now they have to open it themselves. Even with Derek, we left the door open. He was too ashamed. He prepared to die than bring shame to himself.
Thank you.
You are quite welcome. You got to realize something we knew very early on since I left. One of my old friends, university time, he is one of the heads of nuclear industries in Europe. We are the people who shared a room with each other at university, apartment. We lived in the same apartment. Very close friendship. He was told if he keeps any open communication with me, he loses his job at the head of the nuclear. That's how much they've threatened people around. And he was one of the guys who knew what I was planning to do. And the technology was on the table. The threat and the pressures has been there for a long time. And there are a lot of people around the foundation there. We never rejected that there. We One of the reasons we excluded the Belgians was because of the amount of threats we were receiving from the Belgian authorities. Prison sentences, all sorts. We disconnected the Belgians to protect them. It wasn't there that they were kept out. They were primarily kept out not to be harassed by the police and the Belgian authorities. They said they're going to uproot the Keshe Foundation will not be on the internet by 2018. That was their promise. And soon you will see this, the voice of the Belgians against the Keshe Foundation will be silent by themselves, not by us, in shameful conduct of themselves. That's why we opened the Belgium to the Belgians in the past few days, and you will see members of the Belgian community in the television groups. The Keshe Foundation in Belgium is huge. They went to silence, now they get silenced by themselves. We don't waste time on it, but it's what is to come and what is to be developed. Don't forget that with the television channel, we have a lot of freedoms to show what is being kept out of the public. With the king sitting with us, with the queen sitting with us. These pictures we never put in public, now will be. This is someone of the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers who went to court, and it's part of the evidence to the court, all being released publicly. Now the most important thing for us is that the Iranian government has confirmed the technology and the owner of the technology. This was the biggest thing. We've been waiting for this for 12 years. For the officials in Iran to confirm the transfer of knowledge to Iran. And now we have received confirmation. It's not a problem anymore for us. As is part of what we were looking for. And it's the way it is, the way it's going to be from now on.
Keshe.
Just I want to show you, I want to show you text of this confirmation. It is very interesting for many of you, and this confirms a lot in respect to the text of what is come, and I leave one of you to read it than me, because bring it out. Alex, would you like to read it than I reading it? Or somebody else?
I can read it if you wish.
Please, that's the text if you can read it. This is part of the letter from the Iranian. It's part of the text of the information which is released by the Iranian. Can you read it?
A few major countries have been looking for this science for more than 60 years, but they have not succeeded. This science was invited to Iran by Mr. Keshe, who is an Iranian living in Europe in 2008, and Iranian scientists have successfully achieved this science. Mr. Keshe has a foundation called the Keshe Foundation. It's a great scientist in plasma science. It is trying to help the whole world, and its papers and books have been published in several languages around the world. But many people mock it and don't accept it. Plasma is a kind of energy that if any country achieves its speed is super light. Maybe the name of the ship or UFO has been eaten. Or have you heard the name of extraterrestrial people? You may have heard or seen a light object in the sky of such a city. This is a kind of plasma energy that moves at a super light speed, going to the moon in much less than a minute. Maybe now it's hard to believe how advanced countries like US, Russia, China, India, Britain, France, etc. With all these possibilities, Iran has achieved nothing. Not everyone has achieved the technology. It must be.
This confirms that Iran possesses the space technology. This is a Farsi translation, Google translation.
So plasma is a kind of energy?
Yep.
At super light speed? Thank you for allowing me to read it.
And for the first time, we understand that what we possess as a knowledge in the Keshe Foundation. I have asked the Iranian officials to confirm the UFO over Jerusalem to be of Iranian origin.
Mr. Keshe, may I ask a question, please?
Go ahead.
Do you consider this development by the Iranian leadership to be a development of them on the soul level, elevation of their soul? Or are there international developments and political developments that may have prompted this?
It's a mixture of a lot of things. The Iranian government has a struggle in different directions with Keshe Foundation. First of all, technology, you got to realize the leading Iranian scientists who has been killed leaves a big gap in Iran space technology, which requires my return to Iran to complete it. This is one of the moves to explain of my return to Iran. Iran space technology needs a scientist who understands and take the leadership into space technology of Iranian space program. And we have declared that fully, that we stand behind the nation of Iran in the development of space technology. On the other hand, I suppose my way back to Iran to complete and take the leadership, which is in progress. And on the other hand, with the new structure, brings a new leadership in world of science and technology. In a way, as many of you know, we have received a 300 million grant confirmed and announced by the Chinese government by the Yellow River to build the first space center in China. That speeds up the 20 new space centers to be built in China by the Order Presidency and the Keshe Foundation technology. So this speeds up a lot of things. This speeds up our process in most probably the work in Arizona, in the Enhancement Center, Arizona cooperation with the American Space Technologies. The beauty with the new enhancement system is that they'll be produced in Europe. And we keep the technology secret in Europe. We don't pass it on into China to be stolen again by the Chinese. So once we unravel the enhancement unit, we deliver 2 to 4 units a month out of Austria from this week. It's not something you have to wait. It'll be delivered automatically. We push to increase the enhancement delivery to about maybe 50 a month from end of March. These are bought and delivered, paid for immediate shipment. And we don't release secret technology. It's a space weapon technology, and it's hidden within the structure, cannot be touched. This will change a lot of things. The system can be used in a very rapid way deployment. We just heard in past few minutes that they had a 7.2 earthquake in Fukushima again today, if I'm correct. So the technology is needed in different ways. But its application which comes into the work of the Keshe Foundation. In my coming days visit and meeting with the American new government will enlighten us a lot. But my position stands and negotiate on behalf and for the nation of Iran, as we done last time. We don't represent the government of Iran, as he has no credibility. As the nation of Iran, we stand with the leadership and the people in the nation of Iran. Negotiations only on one basis: science and technology in exchange for peace. It will change the American space technology by maybe 100 years. There is no alternative if you think of it. you'll have 20 to 30 million unemployed in US. You can't sell arms anymore. Peace is the only way, and changing direction to space is the only way left. I read you from the text of the letter. The instruction is very clear by me and the Iranian heads of armed forces. No negotiation unless it's peace. We don't need to negotiate, we stand on the point of power. We dictate peace.
Mr. Keshe, yes, Japan had a 7.1 earthquake about 30 hours ago,
Yeah.
and with many replications.
Any other question?
Micah had a question.
Hello there. It's Micah Green from Canada. My question, Mr. Keshe, I have been seeing various reports in regards to the isolation of COVID-19. Many high-level scientists, infectious disease specialists, microbiologists, and epidemiologists have all been saying that they have not had any success isolating COVID-19. China's chief epidemiologist, Dr. Wu Zhenyu, has admitted that this virus was never proven to exist. And another group of scientists have also filed a lawsuit suing the CDC in regards to medical fraud. What are your thoughts on this? And is there truth that the virus has never been isolated?
This is a very tricky question. When we asked the Iranian officials to test COP1, COP2 on Corona, they said they have no laboratory, I think it's class 3 or 4, whatever, to test this. I said, okay, who has it? We went to most powerful universities. None of them had the permit to show it. We asked if we can ask the Chinese and Americans or the Russians. Nobody has seen it. But it's killing. What is in a massive scale? But there is one thing is missing in the whole equation of COVID-19 is that we have not seen no nation report any death through flu this year up to now. Where we usually lose a few million every winter with the flu, winter flu, this year we have seen none. There is no report that anybody on this planet has died of flu this year. The most interesting thing is Larry King. Larry King died a couple of weeks ago. The report was on the COVID, and his wife said, no, he died of immune system failure. Where are the people who died of flu up to now? Suddenly this planet has no flu deaths. And where are the people who are dying of COVID, and we see hospitals full of them, they die. We've been on top of it. I spent day and night in Iran with our people inside the hospitals, people's bed, they were dying. So comes two things. Is this flu virus a stronger version and a mutation version of COVID family, which is part of the flu itself? And to what extent figures are getting massaged with the injections, which don't actually are not injections. There is a flu. This flu has mixed with the African flu and does not have seasons. So we have a permanent flu circulating till we find balance. And a lot of people have decided to cash out on something which doesn't exist, but it always existed amongst us. We cannot say that it doesn't exist. I have people in my immediate family who have actually been literally dying of it. We've been there to help them. It is a stronger flu, it's a stronger part of what we have, but it has managed to find life cycle in cold and warm at the same time. And we have to understand it. I've asked this question even past few days. Where are the flu deaths of 2019, 2020? Last year, flu deaths run into millions. This year we have no deaths, but we have less deaths because of the flu, because they blocked us, they locked us up. We didn't transmit that much. But yes, there is. It's a flu. It's a kind of flu. It's a stronger flu. And I've seen it. I've seen people losing their lives, which happens always with the winter flu or if you ever get a stronger one. There are pictures which sometimes I wish I wasn't in this position to see, but I had the misfortune of seeing through, and for national securities, we had to watch. And I came to one conclusion some times ago, and it's a very cruel way to put it, but this is the way I can sum it up. In a word of life, not anything else. We're talking about life. Life has to exist and to be part of existence, part of breathing system apparatus of the present time. And it's not cruel. It's the way somebody in my position sometimes needs to think and then evaluate a lot of things. When we worked in China and we had to tackle what we call the pandemic with the African flu for the pigs, it brought out a lot of what I call facing the facts and understanding what do we value. Is life of a man and the life of animal any different? And the strangest thing is, when I was involved with the Chinese officials in the African flu, something strange happened a few times, 3 or 4 times, and then something hit us in a much harder, in a bigger way, and then I had to look at it in a very, very, very sitting outside the box and looking at it as I am an observer, no more than an observer. And I went through some pictures and I went through some understandings and tried to be not impartial, but be very much in a position of thoughts, understanding, but very much observe. And I want to show you this because it brought me a lot of facts. It brought me a lot of I had to be not judgmental, but look at life as life. And many of you know that we were involved in the pig trials in China. And in these trials, after the pigs died, but they were put in their bags. After we sprayed the pig house, because the section of the pig house was allocated to put the dead bodies, the bags will start moving. And the technicians observing, they open the bags and the dead pigs will start walking. And what we came to a conclusion was that even the pigs were dead. The interesting part was that the plasma technology was spread over the bags, that the pig flu does not come out of the bag to infect the others, created a plasma that brought the soul of the pig back in, or was with the pig, for the pig to survive. And they had to let a few pigs free again. Were dead, they were totally dead, they were dragged in, put in the bag, and now that pig was walking. This brought a lot of understanding, a lot of deep thinking. What do we value as life? And how do we value as life? And being in possession of some information in the height of the corona, I had to face this because I come across pictures which many of you don't see. And then we react to it. And it brings a lot of thinking, it brings a lot of understanding. Is the life of a man any different than the life of an animal? Life is life. And do we have to say one or the other? Or once we learn the knowledge about one, we can apply it to that. Do we need to use the animals as guinea pig? And as some of you say, is this what the future is going to be? Do we need to test on animals, the gas technology? To what extent we will increase our knowledge that we do not need to be in a process or in a position of not testing anymore on animals. Is a human life more precious than the animals? These are the things when you look at certain pictures and certain understanding is, for example, who's the king in the pig house? As we have the kings in nations, who leads the pigs, because they have a hierarchy. And a lot of things comes to point of maturity that we are no different than the animals. It's just a life is a life. Doesn't matter what clothes we wear and what titles we carry. It's the reality of what, as the knowledge seekers, we would like to accept, or we consider ourselves as a superior race, as we done. And now we come to the knowledge of the space in front of the people who really have the knowledge. We realize we know nothing. We're no different than a pig. And what is actually worth of the life of a man? Is our life more precious than the pig? And would any of us who die of this disease sprayed on the cup when we start walking? And this brings a lot of you into, if you understand it, into thinking, what are we fighting for? Wow, what is all the hassles and battles we have? And trying to prove or trying to be one thing or the other. And these things brings a lot of understanding to those of you who understand the meaning of life. What are we here for? What is the purpose of life? And if with the same water we can save the life of a pig and a man, is there any difference between pig and a man? It's the same water, it's no different. It's the same life. And when you look at some of the pictures, and you see literally bags of dead pigs, and they're all dead, and you spray it, and the life comes back to it. What is life? Do we have any other values than between us and them? Is a dead pig and a dead man any different? And what are we fighting for? What is the purpose of all this hassle we carry? If you look, this is the same water given to the man in the mosque in Iran. The same water spraying in the streets of Iran. The same water man walks through the same tunnel in Iran, made by the militaries of Iranian government. Chinese spray it on the street in a different way. We wash it to save the life of our president when he arrives. Children die because of it in hospital and put in 3 and 4 in one coffin. And hundreds of us, in tens of thousands, still in it. This is the pigs in thousands. And then you see them dead. And we use the same water to save their lives. The same water goes from the man to the animal, from a president of the most powerful nations in the world to the child in the coffin. No difference. And we still fight for nothing. It's the same water. It's the same life. And the question is, what are we fighting for? If the water can save a president, a pig, and a man, and a tree, isn't that the true essence of life? And the knowledge of the Keshe Foundation sits with that water.
But if you have governments or a king that prevent his people from getting access to that water, isn't that what this is all about? Seek the knowledge, we're seeking the knowledge, to share the knowledge, to put it on TV so that all the questions can be answered in a way. Okay, we'll get to that, but here's the solution. Let's use the solution, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about how it progressed and how it happened. And so for the person that asked the question, yep, hasn't been isolated. There's no test that tells you. But I guess for me, Mr. Keshe, you once spoke about how herpes came from the unspoken. I don't know if the correct word was to come from the unspoken, from when we came back from a dream state, I believe, and you couldn't speak the word that was like a fear. Can you talk about that again? Because that was really helpful in understanding how things can manifest, or how it transitions from the fields to the actual intermediary to the matter state, in a way, if that's a way to put it.
What do you mean exactly?
So in past teaching, you talked about how herpes came to evolve as a virus on this planet through it's been a long time since so I might not recall it exactly, how it was evolved out of being unable to speak or something to that effect. How it there in a dream state of actually being in more of the plasma state in your consciousness or your unconsciousness, something occurred that you were unable to, it kind of transitioned back with you, but you were unable to speak about that. Do you recall talking about something like that?
Nope. You
don't?
I've spoken more or less about 5,000 hours.
I know, I'm sorry. It was when we talked about the herpes that gets into the middle layer of the skin.
Yep. Herpes goes by the lips connection, literally. Yeah.
And how we tried to go back in time to figure out how this evolved to become on this planet in a way that we hadn't gotten to, how it was an energy, or it was a non-matter energy, or something that came from the outside, but in a way it did come from another, not dimension, but another state or condition that allowed it to manifest in the human. But in a way, the way you put it, though, I thought was like it was
out of dream.
Out of dream, right? But how we weren't able to speak, how the inability to speak about it, like a fear. It was such a fear that created, in a way, how the animals, you said, like when they were in the wet market, it was because of how the treatment and the fear and everything caused this energetic emotion to manifest in people around them, or something to that effect. Or that it was.
We have different kind of energies. What we call psychosomatic. In fact, if you think of it, what they call psychosomatic is a kind of virus. Energy in excess, in interaction with the energy of the gans, affecting it. That's all it is. Psychosomatic is not that the information or the energy goes through your neural system. Is the energy which is released by the brain instantaneously. And if it's at the right strength within the brain and the body, in interaction with the body creates the virus, because the energy from the brain has no, what you call, amino acid to it. It's a field transfer. But because it's created by the strength of this energy is created by the amino acid based entity of the brain, so they can interact as a given field strength by amino acid of the body of the man and become psychosomatic. That's what psychosomatic is. Psychologically, doesn't go through our nervous system. Psychologically, as a wave, as a field, it interacts. There is a beautiful video. I cannot show videos. If any of you can play a video, it was posted in the Keshe Foundation in the UK. I've got to go, and any of you can go into the UK chat. I have to go onto the I have played with this thing so much. And if you can go into the KFUK and go to what Jonathan has posted in that chat. It's something very interesting and something many of you, Keshe UK Corona, I don't know if any of you have access to it. It was put in by Jonathan last week. And I was explaining this is the one. Official Charles, I forward. Who can play videos on the system? I'm on an iPhone. Can any of you play videos directly on the chat and sharing a screen? Alex, can you do that?
I might be able to if I have the video.
I'm gonna send it to Alex.
I can't do it, Mr. Keshe. I think Ed can do it.
Okay, it's coming to you. If you can play this video, is on your Telegram. You haven't opened it yet. I want you to watch this. This is.
Just give me a second, please.
It is very significant, and it's happened in past few days. Many of you will you will understand. If you read the English comment, do not make a comment. But if you haven't read the English comment, just look at the video. Yes, you open it. Can you share this video?
I'm not certain. I'm not certain. How do I do this? Elias, help!
Send it to Elias and let him play if he has it. It's got to be played, I think, on a computer or a laptop, not on a mobile phone. Apple doesn't allow videos to be played.
Yeah, it's just I have.
You have to play it on your desktop and then share the screen. at the same time.
Mr. Keshe, send it to me. I will play.
Okay, I think I know what I know what you're saying. Okay, let me try. Just give me a moment, please, to switch things around here.
If it's short,
Okay.
Can you play it? Find it again.
Okay, just give me a. Here we go.
If you can't do it, I can send it to Keaton.
I think he's got it. We see your screen, Alex. There it is.
Oh, there we go. I'm going to start it off again. Here we go. Do you want me to, let me start from the beginning, please?
Yeah.
How are we doing now?
We need a bigger screen. No, it's too far. Can you share it?
Go into those arrows on the corner, maybe, Alex, in the right corner. It would enlarge the screen.
Emoji with
right corner on
Send
top.
it to me, Mr. Keshe. I can share it.
now that's as big as I can get it.
Okay, wait. Let's because it's important to see it.
Okay.
I'm gonna
who's
go and
asking?
get you, Alex.
Mr.
I'm
Keshe,
gonna
it's Dean
send it
here.
to-
I can share it, Mr. Keshe. I've got it on my screen now if you want me to.
Wait, I have to share it. I send it to a couple of you, whoever can share it. I have to find the name. Okay, Keaton is sent to you. And I don't have the rest of you. Keaton, I have yours. I'll send it to you. Have you got it?
Yes, Mr. Keshe.
Can you play it?
Okay, give me 2 minutes.
I don't have other one. Can it be played? Watch this, and then there's a lot of interesting thing to watch in this 2 minutes.
it's best to download it and then play it from within. Otherwise, you get bandwidth issues also if it's short.
Can you play it, Keaton?
Yes, Mr. I'm downloading it.
Oh, okay. What is interesting in this video goes back to a lot of teaching. It's amalgamation of many, many hours of teaching. And then when you watched it, I'll ask you one question, which then will bring back a lot of things for a lot of knowledge seekers to understand the extent of how fast they become aware of one thing or the other. Okay, Keaton is sharing it. We don't want to see your screen. Yeah. Okay, can you play the noise? Or is it silent?
You have to share the audio too.
The button down below on the left hand.
Just watch this video. Watch this video. Go back to the beginning. We need the noise. Can you get the noise in?
On your share screen, you need to click the boxes below audio, optimize for audio, and optimize for video.
Yeah, you've got to reshare and press the button down on the left.
Reshare. Okay, go back to the beginning. Go back to the beginning and take your arrow out of the screen. Can you do it, Kate? No, yeah. Yeah. Take your arrow out. Don't put your arrow on the screen. Just watch it from now. It doesn't matter. Let's go. Just watch it. Is it finished, Keaton?
Yes, Mr. Keshe.
Go to the beginning. Go back to the beginning. And now, stop there, please. Stop there. Keep your... Ask yourself, how many of you do you think is real?
Can you?
How many of you do you think is a real plasma system, or is this a fake?
It is real.
Fake.
Why? Why?
Because of the noise.
I already know because you have already said it, sir. Sorry, Mr. Keshe.
No, I'm talking about the people who haven't read my comments. But what do you think?
Fake.
Real.
The ones who say real, the one who say real have to confirm why if you haven't read my writing.
May I make the argumentation why I believe it is real?
Yep.
At once, good evening, everybody. I'm coming from Greece, origin Greece, but I grew up between Germany and Spain.
What's your name?
Lena Kiropoulos.
Yep.
So, for a time in my life, I have seen a UFO, and it was very dark in the night, and suddenly everything had light, but that was without noise. So, if there is something like that, normally, because I have lived this experience, I could expect it to be without noise. But what we saw in the video,
the picture is taken over a bridge on a motorway, as you can see it. So the
yes,
noise is from the cars.
No, it's not only from the cars, because if you're going to hear it carefully, at least the seconds that we have heard, it's increasing gradually. So
yes, but what there are 2 points to watch. Why did the video stop halfway at the end? Doesn't carry on. But the one thing which tells you this video is real is in the first 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Let the video run. Very, very. Just when I tell you to stop, let it run. This is a real plasma space flight. Now it is. You see that light of the plane?
Yes.
If you watch, the light is very faint. And suddenly when it comes to the arena in the atmosphere of the plasmatic field, in interaction, it lights up by order of magnitude. Just replay and just watch. Just go back a little bit. Watch the plane approach from left to right. This tells you, forget about that. Take your, you see the light of the plane? Take your arrow, you see that plane? And now you see how the light changes.
Yes.
You understand? It becomes very bright. The man is on the same position. This shows the can you switch sound down, please? This shows the nothing to do with the aircraft, nothing to do with the spaceship. The light intensifies once crosses the path of the magnetic field which the object has passed. The rest of it is, I even know where these people come from. I know the origin of these people. These are the showmans of a space, we call them. I explain this to knowledge seekers. They like to enter and they see beauty in the knowledge they've gained. But this is a part. What is important that a lot of knowledge seekers have to be aware of? Always look at the effects in the environment, not the object. If the effect on the environment matches the knowledge, you know it's real. You see these waves of pulses. This is changing gravity and inertia. This technology is not known to man. Beyond your imagination what it does. That pulses is a conversion, and it comes, if you look, the third light of the base is in a far distance in the center. You see a bright light somewhere. Just if you look somewhere here. If you look at it, you see it. This is the triangle. It's a space using the star formation. And it's very, very clear how they have built it. This is the star formation of the base. But go back to the beginning, please, very slowly. You see, this is what I explained to watch the effect. There's a plane coming up somewhere here. You see the flashing light of the plane. And then there's a plane center here. Ignore those. You see this light, how bright it becomes?
Mm-hmm.
And you see it very faint coming in. It passes through the magnetic fields which the craft has created in this area. Even though the craft has passed through this way, the aircraft going through these fields changes the brightness. This is a real UFO interaction. The rest, you can get it montaged or whatever, you can talk. But this, these are what we call the clowns of the space, if you want to call them. And they always enter space with a lot of razzmatazz, and they're the jokers, but highly intelligent. To do this, you need knowledge beyond UFO. And you see, if you stop it there, please, you see the very shape of the spaceship base. It comes into operation and settles. And this is a real interface. And in next 12 months, we will see massive number of these on the spaces of Earth. When we landed in Brazil, many of you, we recorded pictures. We recorded again pictures in south of Italy, the same pictures 2 years, 3 years before, 4 years before. And as I said, as man is reaching the point of peace, the universal community is celebrating to be and to take man in the world of universal community. In the next 12 months, a lot of things has to be changed. World leadership will have no leaders. Mankind will go in a different direction. We develop technologies which no man will sleep hungry, no animal would need to eat another one if the man decides to relinquish his position as the king of animals. And then we enter a different dimension in space. I call it to once the cup of eternal life. If everybody wants to stay alive, mankind better reaches peace very fast. Even if for example, President of the United States wants to be full term, 2 terms, he needs this technology.
So, Mr. Keshe, by what you're showing, what I guess it goes back to a question from a couple of weeks ago about the second phase of the Great Reset, which was the Project Bluebeam, the fake alien invasion. And the reason I said fake from the beginning was because it came from it was earthbound, it looked like. And did they have the technology to produce, like, using a rocket or something to produce a screen or an area in the atmosphere that could be used as a hologram? That's why initially I said it was fake. And so how can we tell and this is the way to tell the difference?
The tell the difference, look at the environment in the background. When I looked at the video, we can produce all these nowadays. But what was important is the light of the craft, which is very faint, we see it flickering, crosses into the magnetic field where the object has passed, which is not in there, it shouldn't be nothing there. The light intensifies. And we see 2 or 3 lights, which the third one really intense. And this is where the craft passes through a change of magnetic fields. Most probably, the pilot has, for some seconds, gone crazy, lost control. When you go through these magnetic fields, you lose control. You see all your instruments go crazy and they come back to normal. If you find a pilot, know where this is and find where the guy landed and ask him a question, 99% says my system went crazy and then back to normal. Now you start seeing a lot of things. We said there's going to be a host of these in the next coming 12 months. That is, see which one is fake and which one is real.
And so in a way, it kind of goes back to the original virus when we started to look at, when you showed the MRIs of the lung that had calcified, or the things that have calcified. Could it have possibly been a biological poison that created that condition? But, or because they've come out with autopsies of blood clotting and the lungs, you know, the calcification, and how we've learned so much about how that whole how our biology really works. Are we being just tested with all these different things? And if we truly seek peace, that you know, we should fear none of these things because of the technology that you've given us and that exists now within our own reach. That's kind of the whole point, that, and the psychosomatic issue that is brought out in so many people. That's what I was just trying to get to, the overall.
Yeah, you see, one of our closest friends in Keshe Foundation in past 24 hours is fighting for his life with COVID. And we just got to know about it in past hours, and the Keshe Foundation top people are on top of it. And we'll know in next maybe few hours if he comes to it. He's badly affected and is it COVID or is it flu? Are we going to lose? Well, in Keshe Foundation, we haven't lost anybody as far as we've seen. Even critical cases like Stefania and Jamila, at the end they pull through because of the strength of the technology. But what we will go through in the space is nothing to compare to what is here. If any of you get hit by a plasmatic field, massive energy, you might last a few seconds. The beauty and one of the amazing thing is, even though the universe is full of viruses, one of them has to have the strength of your amino acid strength combination. Or you create a system that blocks your amino acid with a spectrum of your body, so nothing can enter, doesn't matter what field you travel through. Million combinations and technology we have can cover it. The magnetic field of the Earth does that. Otherwise, all the viruses, space viruses, would have entered into the Earth like nothing. So if the fear shouldn't be viruses or who's created it or what has been put in it, it's going to be a new. These are all scaremongering because you have a technology thrown at us. Sooner or later we find a match. But the way the COP1 is said is the minimum common denominator of any viruses which can affect the human body. That's why it's effective. Doesn't matter what you throw at the human body, you have a common denominator, minimum common denominator, which means whatever virus enters within the amino acid body of the man, the cup of 1 and cup of 2 together can catch, can interact with, and show themselves at a weaker point of order than them. We have not handled, we have not seen what we call negative viruses on Earth yet. Negative viruses are worse. The moment we see corona hovering the cell, negative viruses test the cell, empties the cell. In so many ways, what they call a rapid tissue loss, you suddenly don't have a muscle tissue. These are viruses, these are negative viruses which man has not realized yet. They are worse to man than what we call the positive viruses we have now, that they sit over the cell of the body of the man. The negative viruses, mankind has not managed even to understand it. We have it, we know they exist because we've seen suddenly muscle tissue disappear, and mankind never knew this is a virus. But how do you handle a negative virus? How do you hold the position of the cells? You have to create a negative smaller than the virus itself on the tissue. Up to now, we drain the tissue from the energy. Now we have to add into the environment of the energy of the cell. Negative viruses in the space will be worse than positive viruses we see now. Suddenly, there is no bone structure. You just collapse like a pack of jelly because the virus has the strength of the bone cell, calcium level spectrum, and just pile of meat with no structure to hold it. 1 second you have a kidney, next second no kidney. Or part of your kidney is not even there. We haven't experienced viruses yet.
Does the universal community suffer from a virus that the key to the solution comes from the matter state human?
Everything is there. There's a spectrum with what is air to you. You breathe is a virus and the creature of the universe. Without it, you die. Him with it, it kills him. Kiss of death.
Well, I meant is an incentive for the universal community to act with humankind. Is there, in this give and take of knowledge, because you said we were the experts of physicality, is there something that they can't, is there a problem that they can't solve that they are incentivized to interact with us, that we have the solution for them?
Of course. They find a solution in what we find a solution.
So are they going to be forced to interact with us even though we're not at the peaceful level that they, that we hope to be at?
If there has been an interaction or a need for interaction, it's been made and continues to be made. Mankind will learn how they interact. Interaction is not by voice, interaction is not by standing in front of you. Interaction is in communicating with your soul. This is what the soul wants, and physicality finds a solution for it. and the observer in the soul will take the knowledge. Mankind is very naive in these things at the moment. Very naive, because you don't understand the operation. I do apologize. It's getting very late for me. It's a long day tomorrow.
You did tell us there was no war in space, but obviously there's the potential for killing or
no, there's no
loss.
potential. There's no potential for killing. There's a potential for change of position due to the interaction with the fields of the universe.
Thank you for staying up extra late.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We have a long day this week and everything is on the move. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
very much, Mr. Keshe.
Good night, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
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 Thank you, Mr. Keshe.